Hi everyone, welcome back. This is the second video in the Girlboss Functional Planning series, and today we're going to talk about negotiating your commitments using your values. If you have not already watched it, I am going to link a video below and probably up here in the corner, the last one which talked about setting your values. You probably already have them, it's just mainly identifying what they are and writing them down. If you haven't watched that, go watch that really quick and then come back here and then we'll get started because we're going to use those values to talk today. The other thing I asked at the end of the last video, if you happen to watch it, was to make a list of all the commitments that you have. If you have not done that, go ahead and pause really quick and make a list of any of the commitments that you have. It might be to an industry, association, or group. It might be to something in the community. It might be something at work. It might be something with your kids' schools. It might be a commitment that you've made with your spouse or to friends. Anything like that that takes time, whether it's personal time or time away from your job, think about what those commitments are. Go ahead, pause the video, and write them down. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you have that list ready to go. And now let's take a look at that. It's probably best to go ahead and maybe look at them, maybe label them work versus personal, because sometimes you have to look at those slightly different. As far as the work ones will go, we'll start with that. Usually if it's something that's work related, it's maybe something related to your industry. Not always, sometimes it's a community related thing. But first thing to think about when you're negotiating your commitments is this something I enjoy doing? Because if you don't enjoy doing it, maybe it's something you need to renegotiate not doing anymore. Sometimes, whether we like it or not, we have to do it. So that's the first thing to consider. The second one to think about is, does this benefit me or my company in any way? If it's industry related, say for example, I belong to the San Diego County Apartment Association. So as a part of that, I'm on the executive board, I'm active in the legislative committees and at the state level. So knowing that our legislators are not experts in property management and making sure that they understand, hey, you're about to make this decision. So this decision has these consequences that you may not have thought about. So I kind of feel like that's my job, is to share my expertise with them because I'm a subject matter expert in that. And so to me, that's important. It benefits me as a business owner, it benefits the industry, and I think it also benefits the community because sometimes they start to make decisions that don't make any sense. Several years ago, they were looking at water rationing when California was in a very severe drought. And one of the things that our county was talking about was limiting households to 6 gallons of water per person per day. Now, I happened to go look up how much water the dishwasher uses and to run a load, and it was 6 gallons. So it's like, sorry, you're not getting a bath because we had to wash dishes today. So it's little things like that that don't just benefit me and my residents, but it benefits the community as a whole. So circling back around, I just want to make sure you understand that it's a valuable thing if you have some sort of a subject matter that you're an expert in, to share that expertise. So for me, that's a commitment to my local association. Now, it may be something that your supervisors asked you to do. So that's worthy of considering whether or not you like it and whether or not it benefits your company. Hopefully, if your supervisor is asking you to do it, it benefits the company. They wouldn't make you do something that doesn't. But sometimes it's a weekly meeting, and sometimes you need to negotiate whether or not you want to continue doing that. Are you really the best person for it? Is there somebody you can delegate it to if you are a supervisor also? So those are all things to consider when you're negotiating your commitments. Also take a look at your values again. So we're taking a look from top to bottom because hopefully you've prioritized those values and you're trying to figure out, does this commitment fit into my values someplace? Hopefully it does. Sometimes again, if you are not working for yourself, you don't have an option. But this is intended to help you make decisions as best you can when you do have that option. Okay, so let's take a look at those personal commitments that we have. Is this something that benefits you personally? Is it something you enjoy? When it's a personal commitment, sometimes it's easier to negotiate your way in or out. A lot of times you'll have a commitment for a period of time. For me, integrity, loyalty, those are some of my values. So I'm probably going to stick with something through the end of the term that I agreed to. It may not be a high value for you. Not saying that you're dishonest or disloyal, but sometimes if you have a health reason, something's going on, you're really stressed, sometimes you just need to back out. And that's something you have to consider. Again, look at where your values are on there. And sometimes value 3 is going to override value 2. But you want to look at your commitments and make sure that you still should be doing them. And it's still something you want to do, and it's not causing you undue burden in other areas. So if family's important to you and your commitments are cutting into your family time, maybe you need to renegotiate those commitments, especially if it's like an after hours work thing. everything. If balance is important to you, maybe you need to look and see, hey, I have a lot of work commitments, don't have a lot personally, things that benefit me and my growth. So maybe you need to look at backing off of some of your work commitments and increasing some on your personal side. There have been times I've been super stressed or been through a super stressful period, and I just need to cut everything out. I just need to lay low, take some me time, and just back off of everything and regroup. And you'll figure out when those times are. So that's something else to consider. Is it a season where you actually need to be so fully committed to so many things? Sometimes there are things that just happen in life and we're stressed, and at the time when the stress is done, we're exhausted and you just need to kind of regroup. Now, sometimes you'll make commitments that build you back up again. So for example, I went through a really stressful time at work, and thankfully being a business owner was an option. I took some extra days off each week since I was at that point in time fully staffed and could do so. And I did things creatively. Creative things rejuvenate me. So dancing does as well. I actually swing dance, Lindy Hop, and East Coast Swing and West Coast Swing for those who know. And so I made it a point to go dancing at least once a week. And I actually still continue to do that. Music feeds my soul, and so that was something that was very important to me. And I realized music and art basically kind of built me back up again because I was so emotionally drained after that stressful time period. I really needed to take that time for myself. So don't be afraid to do that and switch your commitments around. Realize where you need to back off of one area and maybe increase something in the other area so that you stay balanced emotionally and physically. The other thing I did at that point in time is I made it a point to start exercising regularly. Don't underestimate the power of exercising and eating right, especially if you are going through or have been through a very stressful time period. Taking care of yourself is very important. So you always want to make sure that you're just not giving, and then have nothing left for yourself. So I know we've gotten a little bit away from the values part, but I think as you're getting ready to plan for the new year, to set goals, I think it's important that you think about, what am I committed to right now? What do I still need to remain committed to going forward in the future? And what can I back out of? Because that lets you figure out how much time you have available when you're getting ready to set goals. It gives you kind of a clean slate. You know what your parameters are. Is your box this big? Is your box this big? Is your box this big? It makes a difference when you're making goals. That way you know how much time you have to work on things, and you don't overcommit yourself between your commitments and your goals, because that's setting yourself up for failure, and that's just not fair to yourself. Hopefully this video was helpful. Again, I am trying to keep these a little bit shorter because I am trying to publish a little more often. I'm aiming for twice a week in December, plus hopefully a weekly Vlogmas summary. Again, I work pretty much every single day, Monday through Friday, and so those days aren't quite as interesting, but I did want to share a little bit of how we're celebrating Advent and Christmas with you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in hearing about the upcoming videos we have, please subscribe to be notified when those arrive. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Please let me know what commitments you're continuing, which ones you're giving up, and maybe what are some of the harder decisions you're having to make. What things do you wish you could give up but you can't? I'd be interested to hear. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.